Aloha, I'm Patrick Ching, and thank you for joining me on Painting in Paradise. In this episode, we enter the fascinating world of jellyfish. We'll learn what kind of creatures they are and how they move about the ocean. We'll see some jellyfish from around the world as well as some in Hawaii. Artist Dennis Mathewson, the founder of Cosmic Airbrush Company, will share why he loves using jellyfish in his art. Then, we'll have a jellyfish painting party in Waimānalo. Enjoy all this and more on this gelatinous episode of Painting in Paradise! When we return, we'll learn about jellyfish from marine life photographer Keoki Stender. I find jellyfish very fascinating and confusing. Come to find out, they're not even fish at all, so some folks prefer to just call them jellies. And if you think that jellies sounds like something to eat, you're right. Many cultures consider jellyfish a delicacy. In fact, jellyfish is also a favorite food of sea turtles. Here's a jellyfish I painted on a sea turtle mural at the Mokupapapa Discovery Center in Hilo. To learn more about these strange and beautiful creatures, I asked marine life photographer Keoki Stender to share some information about jellyfish with us.
My name is Keoki Stender. I'm an underwater photographer and marine biologist. I'm here today to talk about jellyfish. So jellyfishes are very unique. They belong to the phylum Cnidaria, which includes sea anemones, corals, sea fans, and the jellyfishes. They are very simple animals. They have a radial body, which is a circular body, with a mouth in the middle, a ring of tentacles, and their body also is composed of proteins within a lot of water content. And that's why their bodies can be very transparent. Another thing about the jellyfish group is that they will sting their prey. Some have very potent stings, whereas others are very mild stings, for humans at least. So the Portuguese man-o-war gets around by floating on the ocean surface. They have no control over where they go. They just go with the flow of the wind. And when the wind is really strong and blowing from sea to shore, they'll wash up on our beaches. On the other hand, underwater jellyfishes, where they pulse, they have a bell that pulses, they'll actually swim using those pulses, but they have more mobility in that sense. The color of jellyfishes can be derived from plant cells that are actually living within the tissues. The other thing is that they don't have a brain, nor do they have heart or gills. They simply will absorb oxygen through the water, through the tissues. So the jellyfishes have two major life forms. They have what's called the medusa, the one we're familiar with, the circular free-swimming animal with the tentacles around the mouth. But they also have a sessile or attached form, which grows on the ocean's floor like a plant. They're quite small, only a few inches tall at the most. And they have branches. And at the end of these branches are the little tiny polyps or medusae that are attached. And so they can live there most of their life in that phase. But when it becomes time for reproduction, those little budded anemones or jellies will pop off and begin to swim away. In Hawaii, we have several species of jellyfish. There are the Mastigius, or the brown with the white spots, and then they have the Filariza, which is blue with white spots. And these two jellies, they do feed upon fish as well as zooplankton. And so it is unknown whether these have been brought in and introduced to Hawaii by shipping activity or if they are naturally occurring here. The box jellyfish is a very important one to know here in Hawaii because it is a very potent stinger. It arrives near shore about 7 days after a full moon, especially along our southern shores and sometimes on the windward sides.
Since the mid-1980s, Hawaii has seen an influx of box jellyfish arriving near shore about 7 to 10 days following the full moon. I make it a habit to be aware of these dates to lower the risk of me getting stung by a box jellyfish. Again. To see which days have the most box jellies, I go to the Waikiki Aquarium's box jellyfish calendar online.
Okay, moon jellies are circular, almost transparent, and they can get about a foot in diameter. You also see these in harbors and sheltered bays where there's a lot of green water or phytoplankton. So these jellies, they don't have any color because they don't have algae cells embedded within their tissues.
Some kinds of jellyfish are pelagic in nature. That means they occur far out at sea. Occasionally, these species will come close to shore, which is a rare treat for marine photographers like Don McLeish, who took these pictures and video.
Sea nettles are not known in Hawaii, but they have very, very long tentacles. And these long tentacles are good for catching fish. Whereas you have other species that have more like a cotton candy or fluffy or broccoli shaped tentacles. Those are more for capturing small plankton. The upside down jellyfish is a very unique species because instead of swimming through the water, they spend their life upside down. They simply pump water over their tentacles to capture some prey. Their primary means of getting energy is through photosynthesis. Using the plant cells that are embedded within their tissues, they expose their tentacles and bill upside down to the sun and create sugars and oxygen within their tissues. If you have any questions about animals, identification, shells, feel free to email me through the link on the website. It is marinelifephotography.com.
When we return, artist Dennis Mathewson, the founder of Cosmic Airbrush Company, will share why he loves using jellyfish in his art.
Hi, I'm Dennis Mathewson. I'm an artist here in Honolulu and spent a little time today with Patrick Ching, one of my favorite friends and artists along the way. I'd like to talk about how I got started. When I was young, I was always an artist, even as a child. I think my mother remembers it, hearing it from like a Sunday school teacher saying, wow, Dennis really has some skill because he drew Noah's Ark and all the animals were going on the ark, but you could tell what the animals were. Like, this is a giraffe and this is an elephant. And for a 4 or 5-year-old kid, they thought maybe there might be some skill in there. So all my young life, I drew and painted and did all kinds of different things. And so growing up, I always felt like I was an artist. When I got into my teenage years, I started paying attention to like cool stuff like hot rods and go-karts and anything I could get my hands on, even painted my own bicycle. Little did I know that later in my life, painting on the vehicle would become such a big part of it. I went to work as a professional artist when I was 16 years old at the Rat's Hole airbrushing t-shirts in, of all places, Las Vegas. That's where I grew up, the ninth island. And when I came to Hawaii in 1980 and was doing airbrush t-shirts, it was kind of a cool thing. Some folks may remember back in those days when we were airbrushing t-shirts at Woolworth, at Ala Moana Center, at Ritz and Pearl Ridge, and of course at all the E.K. Fernandez carnivals. Well, as the t-shirt business started to kind of peter out, I started to diversify and go back into more other things I did, like I mentioned the bicycle. So painting cars and hot rods and motorcycles was always a thing to do that I had done a few projects along the way. Cosmic Airbrush was formed in 1992. We put it in a little shop over there in Kaimuki, and we were there for about maybe 8 years and did hundreds of projects. Really put us on the map because what was happening was motorcycle mania. And we were your go-to Hawaii location for flames, pinstripes, murals, from mini trucks to Hondas, to the whole Euro scene, to four-wheel drives. I mean, we watched all the trends change, and Cosmic always stayed ahead of it. Then we opened up a big shop in Ivalai due to the demand, and we had 7 artists working and, painters. We were a production custom paint shop now. Cosmic was a busy shop until it closed down. The reason Cosmic did close down was the rail project going through. Montgomery Motors, who we rented from, knew it was on the chopping block and the building got sold, and I just never recovered it. From that point on, I just pursued my fine art career, which was pretty prevalent at the time also. So I did some tiki hot rod stuff that was pretty cool. And actually that was really well received because I came from that whole hot rod car show scene. But I started to also think I needed to diversify as an artist and paint more things that I like also, like underwater stuff. Even though whales and dolphins have been painted to death in Hawaii, my unique way of doing it on metal, I would take the metal and I would spin and carve it with a bunch of electric grinders and wheels and sanders, and that would make it all actually look holographic in the backgrounds. So I'm in the gallery and I'm doing some of this metal stuff, and okay, there's some landscapes and some seascapes, and I did a few hibiscus, and I thought, well, I'll start to do some marine life. Well, the art gallery folks were like, oh no, not more marine life, because that's so saturated in the art gallery business. Unless you really have a niche, everybody else is painting that stuff. So I brought in something unique, a jellyfish. And I did this jellyfish painting and brought it into the gallery, and it had like these little bubbles running up through it. And I painted that jellyfish because I had a personal experience scuba diving over in Kona with my friends and came across a few jellyfish on a dive. And while I was with the jellyfish, watching them and trying to figure out how they could swim against currents and catching how the water moved their tentacles and watching my bubbles from my scuba tank blow by them along with the current and watching them swim with it while their tentacles flowed with the current, I remembered that. So when I went to do the painting, I incorporated the water movement in the metal. I incorporated the flow of the bubbles with the water and the tentacles, but I made the animals actually steering their way in through the painting. I have done to date now in over 20 years, over 300 jellyfish paintings. It became one of my signature styles to my work where people came in looking for them. My bubbles became so popular, an Estee Lauder airbrush company caught up on that and actually produced a product that's called Bubble Effects to this day that make my signature bubbles. I use some of that, use my old technique, but bubbles are the magic in the underwater scenes. One of the most fun things I ever did was work in a paint lab, wear a white coat, put on gloves, and learn all the fundamentals of making an actual product. It was pretty interesting because I learned a lot, and I use it in my work today, even in my fine art. But you can see more of my work and find out where I'm at and what's available at dennismathewsonart.com, and it's full of all kinds of information there. So I appreciate spending some time with you today. Aloha.
When we return, I'll show you how to draw a jellyfish, and then we'll join a jellyfish painting party in Waimānalo. For art, gifts, and lessons, visit patrickching.com. Now let's go over the parts of a jellyfish. You have the dome called a bell, the mouth that's within the bell, oral arms with stinging cells that guide food to the mouth, and you have the tentacles. I'll start by drawing a circle for the bell, and a line for the underside of the bell, then a hint of a mouth within the bell, followed by 4 arms with stinging tentacles. These arms are fun to make with a series of zigzaggy scribbles. Then from the edge of the bell, draw your long stringy tentacles. These can flow nicely, showing the direction of the ocean currents. Add some spots, then add some bubbles, and there you have a jellyfish. Now let's get ready for a jellyfish painting party. We'll start by putting a first layer of paint on these blank canvases. You see how transparent it looks in one layer? But your second layer will look nice and solid. We got a lot of paint to put down and a short amount of time to do it. So first we'll work on our backgrounds.
With this second cold, I can see a big difference.
But like when we're drawing,
kind of going vaguely, and when we got things right, we can go a little stronger. I'm gonna create the dome of this jellyfish right around here. Okay, so kind of create the dome like that. And a lot of our jellyfish are just very transparent. Chris is painting a lagoon jellyfish. So I think the dome will be about there, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, load up and give it kind of a brighter white all around that little curve like that. Yeah, just keep reloading the paint so you got thick paint. Otherwise it's going to look like scrubby. But we don't want it to look scrubby. We want it to look really deliberate. That means you have to load your brush with plenty of paint to make those dots. Him is painting a box jelly. Gail is doing a long lacy sea nettle. And Abigail is doing the mauve stinger. See how it curves when it gets down here? Look, when it gets down here it starts curving back, yeah? Yeah, try one nice stroke. Very good. Okay, that's good. And we can do a couple more tiny ones. Nice.
My granddaughter, too, is 21.
Ooh.
Is working with the
That's alright, keep going. I think the tentacles look good when they're a little spotty. Just pull it down towards you. Nice.
Was it like that?
Yeah, yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Alright. Nice, Chris. Yeah, all the way across the top. Just spaces and then dots. Tim is painting the bright stinging tentacles of the box jelly. Abigail uses the Dennis Mathewson bubble stencil. And before we know it, it's time to wrap it up. But first, a few more dots.
We painted a sea nettle, which is the type of jellyfish it is. We started with the bottom with a dark color and we went lighter up to the top and we got a little wave action up there. I wanted to create a flow of its tentacles on this canvas.
I really had a good time painting jellyfish. I usually use black and white pencil because you can erase it and other stuff, yeah. But today I used colors. We did where it would live, like in the background of the coral, it looks type of green. So the green, like right over here, is supposed to be coral that's far away. So I made a mermaid because it kind of messed up. And then the jellyfish I smaller because it's really far, and I made a bigger one. So it's a tiny bit far away, but it's right behind it.
Yeah, so I've known Patrick for years. We've been surfing together for a number of years now, and I told him my daughter was interested in art, and then so yeah, Pat told me about this class, and then so I was gonna just have my daughter come, and then I guess I gave it a shot too, and you know, with Patrick's help, I did my best.
We started with the black ocean and then we added some blue. I love this part. The jellyfish was a little harder. Outlined it with some white paint and added some dots. Yeah, I like this process. It was supposed to be a box jellyfish.
I helped Kim add a little more to her painting by doing some Wet n Wild swoosh marks. Then we blurred the edges of the tentacles so it looked like they were in motion. Thank you for joining me on Painting in Paradise. I hope you enjoyed our episode on jellyfish. I'd love to see your art, so why don't you send pictures of it to my website at patrickchingart.com. Aloha.